Morning glory, America. Bonjour. Hi, Canada. I'm Hugh Hewitt, live in Studio North. Pleased to welcome back to the program Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Good morning, Governor. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning. How you doing?
I am great. Now, Governor, I'm Republican Switzerland, so I try and ask everyone roughly the same set of questions. When former Vice President Pence was on, I talked about the fact he's a military dad. He's got a son and son-in-law on active duty. You're the only veteran running. I think you were deployed with SEAL Team 1 to Iraq. Am I right about that?
That's correct.
Okay, so do you think there's an advantage in being a veteran or being in a military family when it comes to military decisions about deploying troops?
I think there is. I think, for example, we just rolled out a policy about getting rid of the wokeness in the military, getting it focused back on the mission, and I'm relying on my experience of being in an organization where at that time it was mission first, and you check a lot of this political stuff at the door. You try to get over any differences people have and unite to be for a common purpose. That's just how I always thought it was. I think that's how most veterans think it was. Now, with the recruiting crisis, there's a lot of people that understandably aren't signing up because they say the military has lost its way. So that's that part. And then second part, my time in Iraq, we were in Al-Anbar province, places like Fallujah and Ramadi. This is Al-Qaeda in Iraq during the troop surge of 2007. I think it began maybe late 2006. I was there in 2007. And from a military perspective, it was a very successful operations. I mean, these guys were rooted out. You started to have U.S. forces work constructively with the Sunni Arab tribes. And by the time we left, I mean, it was basically peaceful. I would say 99% of the casualties that the American troops were taking at that time were not in Al-Anbar province. They were in the Shia-dominated areas where you had Iranian militias that were killing U.S. troops with things like EFP devices. And so that was success. The issue, though, was trying to cobble together a democracy in that part of the world, which was something that was really beyond the military's capability to do. So I came away from that having confidence that if you give us a concrete mission as an American military and show, that we have the means to achieve it, our guys will execute that. We're not going to be able to socially engineer societies around the globe, and that was something that was readily apparent to me from being there. So I'm very sensitive. If there's ever U.S. troops involved, I just want to make sure that that mission is very clearly defined and that we'll know that we can accomplish it, and we'll know when we accomplish it. I think we get into trouble when we get into situations where the mission's a little murky, where we don't necessarily know when we have a victory. And, of course, if you look at the last 2 decades, we haven't had clear-cut victories in the conflicts that we've been engaged in.
So, Governor, I think David Petraeus was the leader of your chain of command, and that President Bush made a change right before the surge happened with Petraeus. There's one domestic issue that crosses over in national security right now, which is abortion. I applaud Florida's 6-week limit. It's 15-week exception for rape and incest, of course, the exception for life of the mother. But right now, Senator Tuberville has a hold on chain of command changes. He has 270 career military general officers and admirals on hold, and it's screwing up the chain of command. I have a piece in the Post today about this. Do you think Senator Tuberville should remove those holds on the career chain of command? Because it's really screwing things up.
But no, I don't. And the reason is what the military's policy is not following U.S. law. They are using tax dollars. They are funding abortion tourism, which is not an appropriate thing for the military to be doing. So I think our Republicans in the Congress should just take a stand on this. The DOD should stand down. We have all these other problems in our military. We need more ammunition. We need more recruiting. We need all these other things, and yet they're focusing on abortion tourism. So that'll be an easy thing for me day one as Commander-in-Chief. That policy will go out the window, and we're going to focus on mission accomplishment again.
If you win, I hope that we are not looking at 600 vacancies to move people around. Let me move to China, Governor. Their expansion of their blue water Navy is stunning. This is my Bible on the Navy, To Provide and Maintain a Navy by Jerry Hendricks. Do you think they intend to use that Navy, or is it just for show?
No, I think they intend to use it. I think Xi is the most ideological Chinese leader since Mao Zedong. I think he has more global ambitions than any Chinese leader in our lifetime. They have built up a very powerful military, not at our level yet, but they're getting there, and they're investing in things like artificial intelligence with their defense weapons. And so I think that they have designs not just on Taiwan, throughout the entire Indo-Pacific, and of course, as we've seen, even in our own hemisphere here. So we're now in a situation as a country where I don't think the Biden administration has responded appropriately to that threat. I think that they view the Chinese as kind of a friendly competition. They've been more deferential lately. That ultimately is not going to work. Ultimately, what Xi respects and what the CCP respects is hard power. And so we need to marshal more hard power in the Indo-Pacific. One of the things that we'll do is, and I think you can do this, and you know all this stuff, through budget reconciliation, given what Biden did. I think you can do a multi-year naval buildup, start in that first year in office, and go, because ultimately that's what we're going to need to do to project the type of power we need to deny China the ability to dominate the Indo-Pacific.
If Xi ordered the invasion of Taiwan, I mean an across-the-sea invasion across the straits, would you order, if you're president, the sinking of those ships?
Our policy would be to deter that from happening, and I think that they would not do that if they felt that they would receive the appropriate level of response. And so I will marshal assets to condition the environment so that that does not happen. Now, Taiwan is an ally. Taiwan affects a lot of our significant national security interests. Clearly, it affects a lot with our allies, Japan and Korea. So that would be a major event. Our policy is going to be prevent that from happening, and I think we can do it. I think if Biden continues to go another 4 years and they continue on this track, we're heading towards some really rough seas with China, and they're probably going to have the upper hand on us. I do think that there's time still to be able to deter. You know, the People's Liberation Army, you know, they've built it up. I mean, you know this, Hugh. An amphibious invasion is one of the most difficult military maneuvers imaginable. He's seen what's happened in other parts of the world when autocrats have tried to do things recently. Has not worked out very well. So that is a possibility they could do, but I think we also have to prepare. Maybe they do a cyber attack on Taiwan. Maybe they do a blockade on Taiwan. I think he's got a lot of menus of options, and we need to have the capability to deter any of those from being executed.
You know, Governor, last night I was rereading American Caesar, the biography by William Manchester of Douglas MacArthur, and I was stunned by how much we underestimated Imperial Japan's ability to strike and willingness to do a surprise first strike. Do you put a surprise first strike on American assets past General Secretary Xi? I don't like to call him president. He's a communist. General Secretary Xi?
No, I don't. I think that they're going to look at, and I think that the attack on American assets could be in theater. It could be in space. I think that there's a lot of things that China can do. It could be cyber. It could be financial. There could be a lot of things that they do. We've put ourselves in a position where we have vulnerabilities to China. Over the last many decades, our trade policy has really allowed them to create major manufacturing. A lot of the key things for our own economy and even national survival depends on component parts from China. So there's a lot that they can do. Now, there'd also be pain on the other side for them for some of the things economically and cyber if they were to do that. So there's risks involved. But I think they would view it as something that if they are doing that, them taking action against the United States to try to trip us up would be absolutely something that would be in his wheelhouse.
I know, Governor, just yesterday, I was asked by an active duty Navy officer, what is the GOP's position on Ukraine? And I said, Hugh Hewitt said, I think it's about 60 to 70% support for all-out aid, no troops, 30 to 40% for strict limits on the aid or to cut it off. It's an issue that splits the GOP. Did I give a fair characterization?
I'd say it's probably closer to 50-50. I think that a lot of Republican voters that I'm talking to, they look at it and say, you know, you'll have these senators, they will rush to the microphone and beat their chest about how important it is we keep sending more money to Ukraine, but yet they don't have that sense of urgency at our own southern border, which is a disaster, and the cartels are trafficking humans. They're bringing in money. They're bringing in narcotics. Many people are dying. Of course, our ammunition stocks are going low. Our weapon stocks are going low. There's not being the type of support for the Indo-Pacific that we need to. So I think a lot of the skeptics in our base are looking at it as a matter of priority. They seem to prioritize this above all else and ignoring a lot of the other things. My policy is going to be we're going to focus on China first. We're going to make sure we're doing what we need to do in that theater to deter Chinese aggression. We're also going to make sure we're strong at home and that we have a strong border. And then we will work with our European allies, but they need to do more than they've done. We work with our European allies to bring the conflict to a conclusion in a way that's sustainable and doesn't reward aggression. But you have to be strong at home if you want to be strong abroad. And the elites in D.C. in this country right now are ignoring major problems at home. So I don't think that there's a lot of Republican voters don't like the Ukrainian people or have any ill will. I just think that they're concerned about so many issues being ignored here.
Governor, the artificial intelligence arms race is underway. I mean, there's just no doubt about it that the CCP wants AI dominance. We want it. We have to rely on people like Google and YouTube or Facebook. They have censorship histories in the United States, or Microsoft, which has worked with censorship programs in the CCP. Who should be running the AI initiative for the United States? Should it be DARPA? Should we allow the private sector to do it?
So here's the thing. I think we have to recognize AI. There's a lot of possibilities there. There's a competitiveness aspect. There's also a lot of perils there for society. So, I'm not going to let, as president, computers overtake humanity. We're going to have appropriate guardrails so that our society is not capsized by this. But from a defense perspective, China is in the game. So one of the things I think we want to do is put more resources to defense research and development. A lot of the things that you see in the economy that people use in their everyday life, these technological innovations, that grew out of defense research in the past. And it wasn't that the DoD was trying to develop that. They're worried about the weapon systems, but technologies get spun off from that. So I think it could be good for the economy too, potentially. So we are going to have a commitment to more defense directed R&D. Private sector of course, has a role. One of my concerns about how this is going is that there's only a handful of companies that are involved in the AI, and all AI is analyzing data sets. The data that these companies are choosing to use is politically skewed data, so it's more like woke AI. Well, that's not something that is going to be good, so I definitely would like to see other competitors to these institutional stakeholders come in and offer some AI that is not bogged down by that. And then we're going to have to see, this is rapidly developing basically on a day-by-day basis, but by January 20th, 2025, what do we need to do to protect the American people from some of the perils of artificial intelligence? And I will be willing to do that. But I think this is something that's so rapidly developing a policy today will be outmoded in 6 months, 18 months.
Okay, Governor, I want to close with a couple of political inquiries. But first, a fun thing. Are you a podcast guy? Do you listen to any podcasts regularly? And if so, which ones?
I don't really. I'm starting to do more podcasts, and so maybe I'll start listening to them. But I typically don't. I typically just when I'm working out, I'll have music on or things like that. And then if not, I'm chasing my kids around the house when it's not working.
And when you and Mrs. DeSantis get a quiet moment to watch streaming television, have you seen The Jury Room or Jury Duty, or do you watch anything on TV regularly? Do you binge watch?
Yeah, we have in the past. We have not seen that. I'm trying to. We got into Yellowstone. We're waiting for kind of the last part of the last season on that. I think that was really well done, and we've watched a lot of the HBO stuff throughout the years. And now what we're doing is because we're in Iowa, campaigning in Iowa. So I introduced to my kids 6, 5, and 3. the Field of Dreams baseball field in the cornfield, and so now that they're watching Field of Dreams, now they're watching other baseball movies, and so we've been showing them different things. My son really likes that movie Rookie of the Year, where the 12-year-old has the rocket arm and pitches for the Cubs. So we've been kind of doing the on-demand baseball movie.
Well, the very best baseball movie is Major League, about the Indians. So, but I don't know if it's age appropriate. Let me close with Jack Smith.
Not age appropriate. I've already screened it. I can't do it. I can show them pieces of The Natural. I can show them pieces of Field of Dreams. Major League is just not there, but it is an excellent movie. I agree with you.
All right, let me close with Jack Smith. Do you think he is setting a dangerous precedent by bringing, quote, first ever indictments for National Archives against former President Trump and what looks to be first ever indictments on fundraising practices? We're not sure about that yet. He did that with Bob McDonnell. The Supreme Court threw it out. What do you think, Governor?
I think it is a dangerous precedent. I mean, here's the thing. Nobody's above the law. Nobody's saying that that's not the case. But if you're stretching statutes like interfering with a proceeding and trying to shoehorn conduct into that, that is going to cause people to say, wait a minute, what's going on here? You know, if somebody robs a bank and you prove they robbed a bank, everyone knows that's a crime. Everyone knows that's a wrong. Some of these charges, like Alvin Bragg shoehorning this stuff in Manhattan, and we'll see what these D.C. charges are if they happen, but it seems to me they're trying to shoehorn conduct into statutes that really weren't envisioned for this type of situation, and I think that's going to cause a lot of problems. I also think the reality is a Republican in D.C. is not going to get a terribly fair trial. That's just a reality. It's a 95+% Democrat jury pool. I think most of the Republicans that have gone in there have just gotten sliced and diced. I think we should look at reforming this so that if you're indicted in D.C. as an American citizen, you have the right to remove the case to your home judicial district. I think that would be a fairer jury pool for people.
Very last question, Governor. Molly Hemingway and I and a few other conservative analysts, we use the term the narrative, capital T, capital N. When we do that, what do you hear? What do you think we mean by the narrative, and what should the audience understand that to mean? Because the narrative about you has just been hilarious to me, but it's out there.
Well, right. I mean, so they want to have people believe something so they can concoct a narrative to be able to deliver that regardless of what the facts are. And sometimes their narrative will be completely contradictory to the facts. Like they're trying to hit me on our campaign for fundraising when in quarter two I was only a candidate for 5.5 weeks. We raised $20.1 million to our campaign. Biden raised $19.9 million to his, and Trump raised $17.7 million to his, and they were candidates the whole time during the second quarter, and yet somehow we weren't doing good. And so I think they have a predetermined narrative. I think it's very clear. The corporate press in D.C. and New York, they do not want me to be the Republican nominee because they know that I will beat Biden soundly. But more important than that, they know I will actually deliver on all these important issues that so many Republican voters care about. We did it very methodically in Florida in levels no one had seen before. We will do it in D.C. Over 2 4-year terms because I think you need a 2-term president to really bring the fundamental change. They do not want that, and so they're going to shape this any way they can to try to knock me down. But I'll tell you what, once our voters figure out, and many of them are starting to, that I'm the guy the media doesn't want, that will end up helping me, Hugh, because our voters understand how these guys operate, and if that becomes more and more apparent, I think it's going to give me a boost.
Well, thank you for joining me, Governor. When you next come to New Hampshire, have your team let me know. I'll come down and watch from the bleacher seats how you're doing on the retail, because I think you're a fine retail politician. I appreciate. We disagree about Tommy Tuberville, but thank you for coming. Keep coming back.
All right. Thanks, Hugh. Take care.